to our panel. She is a two-time Republican congressional nominee and the former mayor of Rancho Palos Verdes, Susan Brooks. Susan. Hello, young lady. Pleasure to meet you. A very funny comedian. He'll be at the Atlanta Civic Center September 6th. George Wallace. Yes.
Hey! Hey!
George, how are you, young man? Good to see you. You look well. Sugar Ray lead singer and Cosmo magazine cover boy, Mark McGrath. Hey, good to have you back. Thanks for coming. Oh, yeah. And, of course, a country music superstar and best-selling author. Her latest book is Naomi's Home Companion. I Wish I Was. Naomi Judd. Hello, gorgeous. Thank you for coming. Okay. Well, as you heard, if you dare listen to our monologue, we are having another confrontation with Iraq, and yes, lots of people are saying that he is doing this, Saddam Hussein is doing this because the president is distracted, and there is no doubt that he is distracted. And I wonder whose fault that is.
He's got it all wrong. You know, because as, Americans, we love our women, we love our sex, we love a good fight. You know, it's gonna be like when Darby Crash died in the 80s, 1980.
Who?
And then
What?
Darby Crash from the Germs, remember him?
No.
Punk rocker. Anybody? All right. He died. He died. This is why you don't know. See, let me get to my point. 2 days later, John Lennon died and, completely unveiled the thing. So we'll leave the Lewinsky thing for a second for a good fight out there in Iraq. And us good Americans, we know that.
Well, I think what he's saying, that Saddam Hussein is laughing his butt off because our president showed his butt.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Could it be? Well, I just hope that all the folks are watching tonight that have been saying all along that this doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's just a private affair. I don't think so. I mean, we're not putting out fires at home. Also, we're sending out a terrible message to our kids that the most powerful man in the
But the rest of the world, the whole rest of
this.
the world is thinking, I can't believe America is devouring one of its leaders over a consensual sexual tryst with a chubby groupie.
But we also...
I know all about that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's my line of work, But look, we're a tabloid nation. We eat that up, and mind you, where there's a supply, where there's a demand, there's a supply. So they're not there in Czechoslovakia sitting there going like,
No, but
I wonder if, if...
He is taking advantage of this now, I think, Saddam Hussein, because he knows that Clinton can't do anything, because if Clinton does...
But by the same token, we cannot allow ourselves to be held hostage by Saddam Hussein. We cannot.
We have
in
for
this
9
country.
years.
You know what?
We have,
as a result, Bill Clinton has not taken the exercise. Hopefully, he will exercise some leadership if he has any left at all.
And I hope that on August 17th he'll stand up and say his apology.
I hope he says exactly what he's saying and stick with his lie, and that's okay to lie to the American people. The American people lied to him when we said we wanted him as president. It's okay to tell a lie, and he should stick with the lie because nobody cares what happened. I don't care, nobody cares, and Kenneth Starr should stop it all.
Trust is the most important emotion in any relationship.
I trust that he told a good lie.
So what this means, Saddam doesn't trust us. We can't trust our leader.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Trust is the most important. Do you agree?
I agree, but I'm
telling you, important emotion in any relationship.
Yes.
So how can the Iraqis trust us when our leader, the leader of the greatest nation in the whole free world, is an adulterer and a liar?
Why do we
trust Saddam?
Why do we care if they trust us?
We're talking about a politician here. We're talking about everybody in Washington. How do you get to Washington without lying? We're talking about a politician. I would have lied. I would have lied. I would have told her, I would have said, Monica, anybody ask anything, you keep your mouth shut. Not right now, but if they do later.
Not on national TV.
But is anyone disturbed by the fact that the reason why President Clinton, they say, can't focus on Iraq is that from now until August 17th, when he testifies, they say he is studying and preparing. Monica all last week was preparing and studying and rehearsing with these prosecutors. If both of them are telling the truth, why do they all need to study and rehearse so much?
The truth is the truth is the truth.
Right.
You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. When I worked in the hospital, things are either sterile or they're not sterile. The truth is the truth. You don't need any preparation.
And this is a president who has entered a morality-free zone. This is a president where truth is demonstrated in a different way. It's demonstrated by what is politically correct, as you point out. You
Spin
want him to lie,
control.
not by what is morally right. You know, if he just said right from the beginning, okay, I'm human, I did this, I made a mistake, that would have been one thing. Now he's trapped, and he's stuck in this lie. And George,
Well,
and he's
maybe he's
counting
not
on
trapped.
you
Maybe
and
he's-
51% of the people to say, yes, just stick with that lie because that's the only thing that he can do.
Well, maybe he thinks like I think. Maybe she had a sexual relationship with me, but I didn't have one with her.
All right,
But you
I have
know
to
what?
take a commercial. We'll come back to your point.
Free tickets to Politically Incorrect. Call 213-852-2655.
All right, moving on, as we do each night from the president, because people have real lives out here. How many of you are familiar with Abercrombie and Fitch? It was a,
I got that.
You know the cat? Okay.
That's that store that sells all of that stuff, right?
Well, it sounds like a gay wedding for butlers, but it's actually a store. And it used to be when you wanted hip waiters or something like that. Well, they've tried to update, and now they're selling a catalog for, it's called Back to School 98, and in it, it features things like a drinking 101 section. And shooter recipes, drinking games guide, and it says, a quote in one of them says, indulge in some creative drinking rather than the standard beer binge. They're trying to be a little wry and cute about drinking in college kids. Well, MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, is all up in arms about this. And and you think it's good?
I got
Absolutely, I think
that
it's
catalog,
good.
and the first thing I thought about was the #1 drug of choice for Abercrombie and Fitch must be money. And they must be so
Well,
addicted to
Naomi,
this, they'll do anything, they'll stoop to glamorizing.
I think
it's visual messages they're sending out
I don't
telling
think
these
Abercrombie and
kids.
Fitch, you know, I mean, MAD is a great organization. It's justifiably overzealous in certain things.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
and
whoa,
wait,
whoa,
hold on,
whoa,
let me
whoa,
finish.
whoa.
And Abercrombie and Fitch, the catalog.
Wait,
I don't see.
No,
I don't see. Wait.
Wait a minute.
Wait, did you hear I said it's
that
justifiably?
MAD is not on a crusade to take away alcohol from responsive adults. Do
Right.
you understand?
Sure
MAD
they
is
are.
Mothers
They sure they are,
Against
because the-
Drunk Drivers.
Right.
This has
That's
nothing
all
to do with
they are.
driving.
Okay.
This is wearing
Yes,
clothes.
it does. Yes, it does.
Clothing is not driving.
My thing is this.
15
I don't think Abercrombie and
15
Fitch's
to
profit
20
margin is determined by the drinking games. I don't think there's an Abercrombie and Fitch quarter that goes
They
into
are
Abercrombie and Fitch
promoting
out of a
it.
guy's butt into a shot glass. It's like, yeah, it's making a profit margin.
I
don't
saw
think so.
recipes.
I don't think so. You know,
I saw
Okay,
recipes.
no, but
with
Naomi,
numbers in
and
there.
my mother would kill me if I didn't say this. I think MAD is their most righteous organization. They're doing the right
You
thing,
said it.
but
they're
it's not hitting their profit margin.
They're not crusaders against people who are adults and who are responsible and who drink. The first
college
thing I
people are
saw,
adults.
no, they're not.
Yeah, 21 and over,
You
can they
have
drink
to be
alcohol?
21 to drink. The first
Right.
thing I
The college
noticed is I
students
saw
21,
that.
Naomi?
These kids are not 21. Last year alone, in the 15 to 20-year-old bracket, 2,000 kids died. 2,000 15 to 20-year-olds died because they were drinking.
Right.
You must have
But-
never had
No,
or been affected by
I was in college and I was 21.
who was
and I know that's
killed by a
legal.
drunk driver.
No, I have. I've
Okay.
known people.
I was
And you know what?
21, I was
I
27.
stand corrected. You're
Serious
correct.
thing.
You know what? Both sides are righteous. Both sides are right. This
They're
is the
not
most lose-lose
overzealous
situation.
crusaders.
This was done
Well,
by a group
justifiably
of
so.
20-somethings. This magazine was put out by a kind of 20-somethings for money. And that's all there is to it.
Bottom
this
line.
was not done by a responsible parent. This catalog was not.
They're
it just
trying
wasn't.
to sell
it's
clothing.
advertising.
They're trying to sell clothing. Do
They're
they
trying-
have to?
There's
does every-
socks in here.
And
There's
they want to
sweatshirts.
use my money.
There's a backpack that you and I would both wear,
Well,
right?
you know
Yeah,
how
but
strong
they
the
wanna
media
use
is.
my
They're
money
sending
to
out
do
a
it.
visual message. I saw that, Mark. It has recipes for shooters in there.
Yes, it
It
does.
has
And that's
drinking
not guns
games.
they're talking about.
Well, instead of
And you know
Why
what?
do you deny that
drinking,
that exists in the
Wait.
college sort of
Instead of the
experience?
drinking,
I mean,
I'm saying
wait.
that they should have had a message telling
Wait.
kids don't drink
If
because last year
kids-
17 million people died.
If I don't let
because of
George
drunk
speak, I'm
driving.
going to hear from the NAACP. Now, George.
you don't want them down here. Well, I'm saying, I think there's other messages we could do in the magazine besides drinking, right? We could do other things that college kids do. Show scenes of kids cutting class or rolling a joint and stuff like that.
Don't do that.
Or cheating on tests and things like that, yeah. So,
Taking steroids or something.
And you'd have a different group going up against that. And it doesn't have to be mothers against
there's
drunk
always somebody
drivers.
complaining about everything. You got people up in San Francisco complaining about
But
the 49ers.
you're not a dad.
They want the 48ers. No matter what you put in
We're
there,
both
somebody's going to complain about something.
I mean, I kind of agree with you.
Yeah, what difference does it matter? Do kids really drink in college? Does that? I mean, if it wasn't for drinking, some of these kids wouldn't even be in
Okay, so
college.
the next...
Okay.
So the next catalog,
Well,
I guess the next catalog went that they can feature vehicular manslaughter.
Well, they don't show the kids in, like, you know,
What happens as
in
you were
Mustangs with vanilla ice and shooters
exactly.
going like this, you know. They show them, you know, in a fraternal environment.
Right.
Right, with a blanket and a flask going, hey, here's a shooter.
Okay, the next question is,
Not a fraternal environment.
does everybody have...
They're
what
drunk
if
at a
somebody
fraternal environment.
puts a Mickey in the drink? I mean, you know, you always have all sorts of
idea.
options.
What about Mickey?
Do you want to advertise it? That's all.
No,
I
but they're
mean,
not advertising
I
Mickey's.
don't
Now we're
wanna see
going
I
crazy.
just think if parents did their job, not everybody else would have to do their
Thank
job
you so
for
much.
them,
Thank
like
you so much.
clothing
But-
companies.
And they are real.
But the media has to be responsible.
What's that?
The media has to be
The
responsible.
media does. Well, the media has too many
messages.
commercials too, and I got to take one right now. Okay, as we were talking in both issues there about the...
Hey,
oh, yeah,
Hey.
that's good.
get your foot off that table.
No. You can do whatever you want here.
I just said
that's
this is
Naomi
like this
Judd.
reminds me of home. This reminds
in
me
my
of sitting
living
around the
room.
kitchen table
Put
at
your
my
ass
house.
up. Put anything up
We
you
can
like.
relax.
That's nice. Be
Please.
comfortable. I'm just kidding. It's not my furniture. But if you were at my house, you wouldn't put your foot on my furniture.
Well, actually, it's interesting you bring that up. Not really. But I'm going to try to connect it to this because we're talking about how society breaks down. Now, in Colorado Springs, they decided they're going to do something about it, and they're going to start with public swearing. They have hit...
They're going to start swearing in public?
No, they're going to start what they're doing. They've already done it. They are writing tickets to people. It usually turns out to
For
be
swearing?
young people for public swearing. If you're in a park, if you're in a baseball stadium.
That
You
makes
can get a
sense.
ticket? Not really.
We-
Who the hell come up with a silly ass suggestion like that?
I was the mayor. They have nothing better to do.
How you
Don't
gonna?
we give people tickets for throwing trash down on the ground for littering?
But
This is trash
swearing
that
in the
comes out
park,
of
how
your
you gonna
mouth.
enforce it? What are you gonna do? Call the police and then? Well,
No.
what did he say? Well,
It
I
makes
can't say it in
sense
the
to
park.
me.
They
Well,
do. Now,
I was a mayor, and sometimes they have nothing better to do.
Then right,
And-
stupid laws.
Sometimes you have, this is an example of government out of control.
Well, I'm gonna
We
correct you in a
have
weird way.
laws on the books, and those books basically allow the cops the discretion to exercise if there's a disruption in public.
When I,
But the
Susan,
bottom
I
line
hang
is,
out with a lot of law enforcement people, and I guarantee you ask them this question, and they're going to say it's a fabulous idea because we live in such a trigger-happy society. And if you have verbal confrontations, it only escalates to violence. It's a
also-
city
also,
park.
talking
The people
about
that are
conduct.
the people that are
Naomi.
cussing in parks are adults, okay? They're playing basketball, they're weekend warriors, they're getting heated up. Right next to these parks are sandbox, little people playing, right?
And kids
now listen,
on swings.
I've seen this happen, and it's very simple.
kids on
People can
swings.
police themselves. It happened to me in Newport Beach at a half-court game I used to play at. You know, people complain about the cussing, 8 hours a day, people rolling back and forth. They put up a little, hey, curb your mouth, there's kids playing. Next thing you know, you get righteous dudes go, hey man, watch your mouth, they got kids playing over here. And it worked. Period. End of story. First Amendment rights are one thing. When the law comes in there, I'm a little scared about that. I'm the last guy to say don't cuss in the park. I just did it 5 minutes ago.
But
right?
it's
Yeah,
an
but
it's
a
unfortunate
park. No,
reality.
It's a park, but you know, let's police ourselves. Let's not have-
Wait.
you just cursed in the park? What,
Yeah, you keep us out in the park for 5
you're,
minutes. My
uh,
God,
you're-
I think the key word here is it's a city park. You can do whatever you want at
Whether you-
home.
Right.
But as taxpayers, we have a right when it's our city park you know, we've got mothers with strollers, we've got kids on swings.
But then you also
You got a
have the
freedom of
street,
speech, but
right?
not a freedom to offend.
Well, it's adults cussing. That's what the scary thing is, you know?
Well,
The
you know,
kids are
another
doing
hand-
wheelies going, F and A, man. You know, it's like, it's a dude doing a hook shot to miss and go, boom, you son, you know, and that kind of...
Unfortunately, it's
Plus,
usually
it's always
not
gonna,
adults.
it's
That
a
was me and
public,
you last
it's a
week.
public
It
park,
usually
right?
is kids that
It's
are
a public
cursing.
park.
Public park.
You ever
It's a
been to a
public
public park?
park.
All public parks, there's always going to be cursing in a public park. Because anytime you walk to a public park and you step in something squishy, oh,
Tastes like, smells like.
Case
Glad
closed.
we didn't step in it.
George,
I go over the line sometimes, but that's all right.
you and I need to get together.
You sure do. What time you getting off
I'm
tonight,
saying.
baby?
I'd like to see that on the internet.
This-
I tell you that. Well, we take a commercial. We'll be right back. All right, we have a couple of minutes. I want to return to the president for just a second here because you mentioned he is caught in this terrible trap between a rock and a hard place, and it's mostly because of this dress. If not for the dress, which has physical evidence, he could just maintain, look, she says what she says and I say what I say.
Right.
We see that in court all the time. But there's physical evidence. Now, the question is, should Ken Starr, he knows what this is on that dress right now. We don't. Should he tell Bill Clinton?
Nobody knows what's on that dress.
No.
Bill Clinton knows
He
what's
should
on
make
So
him
that- so that-
squirm.
What?
I think he needs to make him squirm. Just think about it. The most powerful man in the world right now has empowered a 24-year-old former intern to become as powerful as he is. Why? Because he allowed his own morality to slip to such an all-time low. And the truth of this nation, it's really tough. You know, I have a 15-year-old daughter, and it's really hard when...
Well, don't let her be an intern.
no, she won't be.
But,
She wanted
but
to
if
know...
you teach your daughter right, she won't go in the White House and do those kinds of
Well,
things.
she wouldn't. She wouldn't.
Those things wrong?
They're both 21.
Are those things wrong, George?
They're both 21.
If I
think
had
the
a
parent
15-year-old
too.
daughter, I would tell her the real evil is the special prosecutor. That's the real
You got that.
Really, I
unimaginable
don't
thing.
believe that at all.
That's what's really
No
un-American.
way. No way. No.
Taping and trapping and snitching and
No
entrapping.
way.
That's
Well, the
it.
whole
This is the
thing is
most
entrapment
scandal-ridden
because-
administration in the history of the United States of America.
I think the whole thing
Bill
is
Clinton
entrapment
is waiting
because-
to see what's
Go ahead.
going on before he makes his announcement on the 17th. So I hope he doesn't find out about the dress.
Right.
Yeah, do a
Because
Johnny
I
Cochran.
think he
So
is
you-
so involved in spin
doesn't know which
control.
In other words,
lie
we
to tell.
want to
Plan
take our
A
leader and
Plan
trap
B.
him.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm
yes.
saying.
We
Yes.
want our leader to have some degree of morality and ethics because he is our representative to the rest of the world.
Well, I
Right,
think the whole
but-
thing is entrapment with Monica.
That's too
First of
bad.
all, who do you know that gets a stain on their dress, keeps